All right, welcome back to the episode 3 of the Give and Go Basketball Podcast. We're calling it the NBA Jam Edition. And if you've never heard of this game, if you're like a gamer from the early 90s, let me tell you, it's a basketball classic. Go ahead. I know you want to say something.
Boom shakalaka.
Heating up. He's on fire. So we're going to get into that in a little bit after a couple things. Make sure that you're following us on Facebook, on Twitter. If you're liking what you hear from the podcast, make sure you click the subscribe button on YouTube. Leave comments for us. Email us at the giveandgo3 at gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you and get more input, and just give us ideas for the show or what you'd like to talk about. TP Jr., this one's for you. I just have to say it's hard for me to give any love to Duke. All I'm going to say is Krzyzewski's an okay coach. JJ Redick can shoot a little bit. Zion is a beast. I'll give you that. Now, a cool story about Duke, and I will admit this. My aunt took my brother, cousin, and I down on a trip down to like tour the Triangle a little bit. And we actually got to walk in to Cameron Indoor. It was they were doing some renovations and nobody was there. It was around lunchtime. We walked right out onto the court. We got to run up and down like I did a sprint up and down Coach K court. My cousin reached up, snapped the rim. And so that was a pretty
I wish you would have broke it.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool moment. But
take it home.
But we still got to go with my Tar Heels, who actually won big tonight. So we're going to go ahead and get started and talk about just a little bit of last week. We talked about the CJ McCollum All-Stars, those guys who should deserve a roster spot on All-Star team, but never made it. And actually the NBA just announced the current All-Star starting 5 for the East and the West. Which one of you wants to take it or start? Ryan points at Ben, so go ahead and take it, Ben.
Sure. So, for those that aren't aware, the West or the team LeBron had obviously LeBron as the captain with Luka Doncic, Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, and Kawhi Leonard. There was a very, very close race between Dame Lillard and I guess it would have been Doncic about who is going to fill that spot there. And we might get into that a little bit. And then for Team Durant from the East, we had Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Bradley Beal, Giannis, and Joel Embiid. So those are our starters. It'll be interesting to see who gets left off again from the teams altogether. CJ McCollum's injury means that CJ McCollum All-Stars will continue to be a thing as he's missed probably too much to get voted in at this point, even by the coaches. But yeah, any thoughts?
Well, I think to me, like how they break it down now with player votes and fan votes is cool. Because if you look, fan voting, I mean, Luka had over 1 million, basically almost 1 million more votes than Dame. But when you go to the player votes, not the fan voting, Dame gets so much more respect. 131 total player votes to Luka's 58 player votes.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, Dame, low-key, if Steph Curry didn't exist, would be the most mind-blowing player, like, in terms of, like, the three-point evolution that we have out there. Much like his teammate CJ McCollum, he's sometimes a little bit maybe underrated or undervalued just because Steph Curry also exists and does the same things, maybe a little bit better, or at least with a little bit more success.
I don't know if you can tell over here, Ben. We're getting attacked right now by a duo themselves.
Well, what's the name of those dogs?
Yeah. So you could. I was going to say you might be able to see one of them right here. Here's a paw right here. But yeah, my two dogs are Dean and Roy. So take that, TP.
I think though. I mean, this is a little bit.
Hey, you guys got shifted a little bit by the camera.
Yeah. That's my dogs again coming at you.
There you go.
But I think they're respecting. Obviously, Dame's a vet, and he's so good. I think though, players in the league, vets look at Luka. He's kind of whiny. I mean, I think he's special beyond special. Like one of the best players in the league, clearly. But I just know, just from watching the playoffs last year, kind of the back and forth he had with the Clips, like they are not a huge fan of that dude and how he gets down a lot of times. Like, and right or wrong, like, it could be, hey, rookie, pay your dues before you go crying and whining. But there is something to that why he gets 58 votes to 131. I don't think the gap is that big.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. And I think he does talk a lot to the refs. And it's interesting too, because it's not like he's not initiating a lot of contact. He's one of the more physical lead guards out there. I mean, it's actually, I can't decide when I look at him sometimes. He's either like LeBron without nearly the athleticism, or he's like more Harden-ish, but a better, well, I don't want to say better passer. They're both very good passers, but like kind of more facilitator-ish, if that makes sense. Though that might not even be fair to Harden right now. I just think he's interesting because he's such a physical ball handler that relies upon his skill, but he also just jams his shoulder into people all the time.
A lot.
And it's kind of reminiscent of like a LeBron or even like Harden, the way he baits people into hitting him. What do you think of Bradley Beal instead of James Harden? Do you think they just didn't want 3 nets? Or was it Harden just changing conferences, or what do you think that is?
That's my guess, is the change of conference, but
yeah. And I can't off the top of my head think of one that big name of a player who was traded at that time of a season. Yeah. We've seen it later in the season, I feel like, but this early, I don't know. That's a good question, because I mean, by the numbers, I mean, you could go Harden, but by what he means to the team, I guess. I mean, Bradley Beal is the Wizards. I mean,
you could also make a good numbers case for Beal in the sense that he's in the league in scoring.
I just.
But what's interesting is they're not good, right? Like the Wizards, I think have, at least last I checked, the worst record in the NBA. I double check and make sure that's still true. So that's not normally a team that gets an all-star starter.
100, never.
I take that back. They're not the worst record in the league anymore, but they are 9-17. They're towards the,
But then you're at a point where it's like, okay, if it's the, Oklahoma City Thunder, the Denver Nuggets, who they're pretty proud organizations. They're not laughing stocks. They might be down a few years, but then they're good usually. Mm-hmm. The Wizards are a laughing stock. Like, they are one of the worst ran organizations in basketball. So to me, I don't look for them to win as that being the criteria for him to get in an all-star game. You know what I mean?
Well, he should be an all-star, but
you're saying a starter,
right? Like,
that's
I think
fair. That's fair.
And maybe I'm getting that backwards. Like, maybe it's for the fans to some extent, for the starters, and the coaches pick more like teams that are doing really well.
We've seen some of the worst things when it comes to fan voting.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I remember Yao Ming won the fan vote every year for years and years and years. Yeah.
Like, I love Jimmy Butler, but I just look at total votes, and he's like top 5 for the front court in the East. I mean, he barely played that.
So do we think it's a good thing that they made it more than just the fan vote?
I love the player vote. I love the player vote, because a guy like Bam, sticking with the Heat, fan vote, he might not get the love, but player vote, he got 70. That's more than Luka. The guys who are on the court and the coaches should have some say in this. It shouldn't be all just fans.
Right.
I just pulled up Bradley Beal's stats.
He's so good.
And like you said, he is leading the league in scoring. He's at 32.8 points per game.
He's such a dog.
He's just under 5 assists a game. He's over 5 rebounds a game.
I do, and we're on the Bradley Beal. I do have an apology. My best friend in the whole world, Josh, if you're watching this, he told me, I think 3 or so years ago, we argued. I told him that I would take Klay Thompson over Bradley Beal. I said, I don't necessarily know if he is better. I would just take him on my team for what he does and what he is his value.
Yeah.
Bradley Beal is better. I don't have any argument to say he's not. Bradley Beal is a better basketball player than Klay Thompson.
Certainly when Klay has a torn ACL, but no.
Yeah.
But no, so I guess there's not any obviously if you're a starter in the NBA, All-Star game, you're really, really good.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
there any other, thoughts about somebody who was left off, or,
I look at these 10 guys and I think they got it. I don't know.
are they
Yeah.
the 10 best players in the league though? Or do you think, because like the other thing about it is,
I'm going to say the 10 most deserving.
yeah, well, I was going to say though, like with the move towards more positionless basketball in the NBA, should we care about positions at all when voting for the All-Star game? And I only mention that because like really a lot of teams play one big and a bunch of wings essentially now, or wing / guards.
The only one that I'd say, if you're going by the 5 best players or 10 best players, if you're doing overall, I mean, Anthony Davis is a top 10 player easily in the NBA. So, I mean, obviously he, like you said, positionless basketball, they don't really take centers. And if you did have to take one, it was a no-brainer to go with, Jokic this year. But, I mean, if we're saying do they get the 10 best players? No, because there's no way that some of these guys are better than AD.
Right.
So last week too, we were talking about some top performances, and that's how we closed last week's show. And then this week we got hit with some more big time performances, and I think that we wanted to go ahead and mention them. And looking at the list here that we have, there's some big ones. Ben, you want to go ahead and start that off?
Just thinking of a couple of games that I watched this week. The one that was early in the week was, and I was excited to see it because it's the best record in the East versus the best record in the West, was Sixers versus Jazz. Now, Embiid ended up not playing, which took a little of the luster off the game, and the Jazz ended up pulling away. But one of the interesting things that came out of that game for me was Ben Simmons looked like a totally different player without Joel Embiid in there. He played much more like a Giannis type, a lot of attacking the basket, was still facilitating at a high level, ended up with 42 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists. Or I might got the assists and rebounds backwards. But regardless, he had a ridiculously awesome game.
Without shooting a three.
And he doesn't shoot from the outside still, but he was in attack mode the whole time, which you don't often see him play like that. Mm-hmm. And I think part of it has to do with the geometry of the court, i.e., getting Embiid out of the paint created more space for him to attack. And it also actually allowed him to play essentially a point center role because he was matched up a lot of times with Gobert guarding him, because he can guard 1 through 5 on the other end, and he really should be recognized for how great he is on defense.
And pretty elite, he can be on defense. I mean, for a while now, he's been elite.
Yeah, and you could argue he's the best all-around versatile defender in the NBA right now. And then on offense, he's still a point guard, like a legitimate point guard, and able to attack and be a screener, be a roller, and score for himself.
I think his greatness offensively is based more on fit. You saw it. Based more on fit than a lot of other superstars in this league. Whether or not we want to call him a superstar, he's in a pretty high tier in the NBA. But like you said, that point forward, point center role, you put him out there with guys who can shoot, and now, I have to guard him one-on-one and keep him out of the paint. It's impossible to keep him out of the paint.
And what this leads to is this question, and I want to see what you think of it. Are you maximizing either him or Embiid if you're on the same team?
No. One, because they forced Embiid the last 2 seasons, especially with the little experiment they did with Horford. You forced him to be out there, especially once they got rid of Jimmy and JJ. That year they went to the playoffs, lost to Kawhi on that crazy shot. You forced Embiid now to be your outside perimeter threat. Yep. When last season he was leading the NBA in points per touch in the post.
Yes, him and Jokic are bringing back the post game right now.
So you have a guy who, if I give him the ball in the paint, he's the best in the league at it.
Yep.
But instead of him being down there because it clogs it up for Ben, now he has to stretch the floor, and he's not a bad 3-point shooter.
Right.
But if you're telling me I got to stop Embiid, you can live out there, big boy.
Yeah.
I don't want you down here abusing people, because the NBA is not built like that anymore to stop guys like that.
Right. And that's actually a great segue, because Embiid had one of the most efficient and actually so did Jamal Murray, but we'll talk about Embiid first.
Yeah.
Had one of the most efficient
Yeah.
50-point games you'll ever see this week.
So good.
Where a lot of it was dominating the post, but some of it was mid-range, some of it was outside. His ability to score on all three levels right now is actually spectacular. Looking at it, even his efficiency stats, he's shooting incredibly well, even from the mid-range this year.
This might be hyperbole, but his skill set is Hakeem-ish in the paint. It's not classic Hakeem, but
Yeah.
it's close to it, and he's so much bigger in size, body
Right.
size.
Yes.
Right, and
And
he,
physical just prowess. He's a monster.
well, he's having one of the best offensive seasons of a center since
Yeah.
Prime Shaq in terms of dominance, in terms of like efficiently scoring a lot of points, like volume scoring and efficiently. So it's really special what he's doing.
so good.
And what's crazy is you would think with that kind of season he'd be clearly head and shoulders the best center in the NBA, but with the way Jokic has been playing, and there's a really close advanced statistics comparison here. Arguably, Jokic is still the best center in the NBA, despite Embiid putting up one of the most absurd offensive seasons you've ever seen.
And both of them are so good in that
Yeah.
DHO. Those,
Oh yeah, dribble handoffs and
they're
everything.
just. It's like you could run a whole game through that, and
Yeah.
you would get something good on every possession as long as you had the guy to run it with him. Like when him and JJ were together that one year, that was unstoppable. I mean, they would go to that in fourth quarters. Like that was the bread and butter, was their dribble handoff game together.
Which is a nearly also perfect segue into Jamal Murphy's perfect.
It's what I
right?
What do you guys
And
even need me for?
Right, and Jamal Murray had an efficient 50 the other night as well.
Finally, Jamal, thank you.
And he's had he had somewhat of a slow start shooting wise this season after being so hot during the bubble in the playoffs last year.
He was so good.
But having Jokic running the dribble handoffs with him and the high pick and roll with him, he actually went 21 of 25 from the field the other night, shot no free throws, 8 of 10 from 3, and ended up with 50 points.
And that's the thing.
And Jokic actually took a night off shooting only 8 shots, but had a real easy triple-double of 16, 12, and 10. So, like, it's amazing what some of these guards are able to do now, playing off of elite-level bigs, setting these dribble handoffs. Bam Adebayo is another great example. These bigs that can really facilitate.
Those would probably be the 3 best at that.
Sabonis from the Pacers is up there.
Yeah,
as well.
That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah, so you have like these bigs now that are really becoming major facilitators for the team, and a lot of it is the dribble handoffs for threes.
Well, and because all 4 of those guys now can shoot it as well. It's just such a hard action to guard.
Yeah.
When both guys involved can shoot, they can both put it on the ground. If you got shooters now in the corners, which most teams do, you can't come off them. It's so tough.
And after the death of the big man has been proclaimed, it's kind of interesting to see. Well, it hasn't really died; they've just evolved.
Yes,
and
even the low
post games coming back. Like I think we could both easily imagine Embiid and Jokic playing back in the day as traditional centers.
Yeah.
Right. But they also have the ability, because they can step out, because they can pass, to do other things and play today.
Well, yes, I agree with all that. But now we're going to go ahead and pause here and take a quick break. When we come back, hey, it's NBA Jam time. Heating up.
Boom shakalaka.
He's on fire. Hey, this is Ryan Steele, Ben Sperry coming to you from Zoomland. This is the Basketball Give and Go podcast. Welcome to NBA Jam. Like how I faded away from the mic right there. All right. Hey, welcome back to the Give and Go Basketball Podcast. Host Mitch Shreve, along with the basketball gurus Ryan Steele, and coming to us through Zoomland, we have Ben Sperry. So we are going to start the NBA Jam segment. So if you are a kid of the 90s like we were, we all had this game. and we used to play it all the time. So it was through Super Nintendo, and it was
And the arcade one. I spent a lot of time with the arcade.
and there was the arcade version. It was a 2-on-2 style full court basketball game. But when I say 2-on-2, I mean it was no holds barred. You could shove guys. There's no fouls. You could shove guys, goaltend, and there was some pretty cool sound effects to it too. You had this guy who was just heating up. He's on fire. It was great.
If you got on fire, you blow the nets off.
The nets would catch fire, and then you could add the hot spots and the power icons, power up icons.
Can I just say, I hate that we even have to discuss what this is.
Yeah,
you should know what NBA Jam is. There's no.
It's for the kids, man.
No description necessary. You either know what it is or you don't.
And here's what I'm going to say. If you don't know what NBA Jam is, get on YouTube.
Google NBA Jam.
Google NBA
Jam.
Jam. Look it up.
Come on.
It's classic.
Yeah.
We're going to just kind of take a few minutes here to go old school. And we were kind of doing this before we came back, just sitting here. Let's talk about a little bit the classic 90s players that you used to play with. I'm just going to throw a disclaimer out there. Michael Jordan did not give his name, the rights to his name.
He may have technically been retired when they came out.
There's a good point of that too, because it was right in that. It was a 93-94 game, so he might not have been.
But he was never in any games. So.
But yeah, he didn't give his name to a lot of games. So. Ryan, go ahead. Who was your favorite?
My go-to, and it was my favorite player and team at the time, was Alonzo and Larry Johnson with the Hornets, and that's basically who I ran with. If I ever changed, it was probably B.J. Armstrong and Pippen with the Bulls, or Peyton and Sean Kemp with the Sonics. Those are 3 teams that I rolled with.
Ben?
Yeah, I used to play with the Bulls, whether it was Pippen and Armstrong or Pippen and Grant.
Grant
because I was a big Jordan fan, even though he wasn't on the game. And then I low-key played with the Jazz a little bit because Stockton and Malone were the best duo in the sense back in the day.
You could also sub in Jeff Hornacek on that team too.
You could, if you wanted to have more,
if
you wanted to have more shooting and less dunking, but
more tube socks,
right? And then something to note from the game is, and this is important, is because a lot of it was about just shoving people and taking the ball from them. It sometimes helped to have powerful players versus skilled ones.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now you couldn't goaltend, if I remember correctly, until you were on fire. So and to get on fire, you had to hit 3 straight shots without the other team scoring, if I remember correctly. So if you could
goaltending a lot.
Yeah.
I think you had to be, I don't 100% remember, but I thought you had to be on fire.
It's been a while, but I remember goaltending a lot.
Yeah. Right.
But you're right. They would call goaltend. You're right.
Yeah.
They would.
Yeah. So if you had, the right guy that could really block shots, you had a huge advantage too, because you could start blocking all the dunks when you're, especially when you're on fire, and just toss everything.
And that's what I used to do. I was a huge Reggie Miller fan, so I'd pull out Reggie and Detlef, but sometimes I'd put in old Ricky Smits, and he was my goaltending guy, and I just just crowd underneath the hoop and swat everything with him.
So yeah, the biggest thing, if you don't know NBA Jam, is you could steal it from them, and there was such a great sound. I wish you could hear the sound when you stole the ball. And you could also shove them. The shoving was the more, I guess, efficient technique.
It was.
And you just shove them on the ground, pick up the ball, and you're gone. Like Ben said, that was the thought process a lot of times when you were a kid. Who had the guy that could shove the best and get the ball from the other team?
And it was always a two-handed shove, too.
And those, in turn, were the most frustrating teams to go against when you played, because you'd have to go up the ladder of teams you played to get to the end. And when you saw the Knicks with Ewing and Oakley, it was so tough to beat because they just shove you around.
Yeah.
Ben, I love your most frustrating player to play against. Go ahead, tell us who you hated playing against.
So Dikembe Mutombo, who played forever because he played well into the 2000s, was a great player. I mean, he was a defense player of the year multiple times. On the game, his block rating, I think, was maxed out. So when you played the Nuggets, which is who he played for at the time, he would just block everything. And then at the very end of the game or during halftime, you'd see these player profile pictures, and I hated it whenever I lost the Nuggets. And Dikembe's crooked high top fade would pop up, and he blocked 17 shots, and I lost the damn Nuggets. It would be the most frustrating thing for me.
That's classic. So, anyways, what we decided to do with this and why we're going to transition here into what we actually want to talk about now that we've gone over the history of the game is we took the top 16 teams in the NBA right now, or who we thought were the top 16 teams in the NBA right now. We took the two best players off that and formed our 2001 version of NBA Jam, and then
2021
or 2021. Yeah, where am I at?
I got Vince Carter, and that's an
yeah. I'm lost in space here. So, anyways, and then our NBA ratings guy Ben Sperry went through and rated everyone. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that on the screen. If you're just listening to this and you can't see the screen, or we ever go ahead and go to a different format, we are going to post this on Facebook. And Dean is not a fan.
Dean is not a fan of NBA Jam.
Dean is not a fan of NBA Jam right now. He's yelling at Roy about something.
You might want to scroll down a little bit there, boss.
Yeah. So here are about half the teams, and we'll scroll down the rest of the way. But we have the Lakers with LeBron and Anthony Davis, the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard and PG-13, the Sixers, Simmons and Embiid, the Nets, KD and Harden, and the Jazz, Gobert, Mitchell.
Make sure you're scrolling, because right now I only see the top of the thing.
How about now?
No, you got the wrong doc open.
Do I?
Yeah, on the share screen. Yeah.
Well, how about that? Let's
Oh,
try.
I see it now. Yeah.
Let's try this again. I have one. That ain't it. See,
I think you just shared the wrong one.
I don't think I did. I thought I had the right one here. How about now?
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Okay, there we go. All right, so we have where did I leave off at here? The Bucks with Giannis, Chris Middleton, Nuggets, Jokic. I can't ever say his name.
Jokic and Murray.
We have Dame and CJ McCollum for the Trailblazers. The Warriors, we have Steph and Draymond. Celtics, Tatum and Brown. The Suns, CP3 and Booker. Even though I think we might have had to have a North Carolina alum, Cam Johnson, on there. No, I'm just being biased. I'm just kidding. The Mavs have Luka and Porzingis. Pacers are Sabonis and Brogdon. Raptors, Siakam and Van Vliet. Pelicans with Zion. There you go, TP. And Ingram. And then the Heat have Butler. We got to scroll down here to see Bam Adebayo.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go through every rating by rating here, but
No.
but let's highlight some of the bigger ratings that Ben gave. And I just have to say, and you can disagree with us on email or Facebook or our YouTube comments, but I think Ben hit the nail on the head with these ratings.
Yeah,
they are
it's pretty
very
good.
accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, this just shows if you spend way too much time as a kid playing Madden or 2K or NBA Live way back in the day, and you just care way too much about player ratings. But I did go through this kind of quickly and was just like, okay, well, I'm going to use the rating system from the Super Nintendo NBA Jam Tournament Edition, the 8 different categories, and just kind of go with it. I mean, obviously, like LeBron and Anthony Davis are going to be the team to beat with NBA Jam type rules, I think, because they're both like powerful guys, can really dunk. And obviously LeBron has a lot of skill and can play outside as well. But when you go through the ratings and think about it a little bit, like, you're going to have teams that can really shoot it. Like you got like the Blazers, 2 guys that have elite 3-point shooting abilities, or like the Nets with like KD and Harden. Hopefully they reflect enough of who those players are that it would show up in the game. But other guys like a Nikola Jokic, who's like one of the best players in the NBA, like because he's not fast, because he doesn't dunk particularly much or block a lot of shots, he might not come off in the game like an elite player that he actually is because his best attribute is passing and posting up. So it'll be interesting to like if this actually played out on NBA Jam, how the ratings work.
Yeah. Well, but I think like I said, I think you got him just about right when you scroll down and look at all of them and really look into what these guys are doing in the NBA. And you also have to think that some guys who might not have the most success in the NBA at the moment are actually probably going to be better in this game because they have the power to shove and, and push and jump up and goaltend.
Well, yeah. That's where because this kind of all started with just an idea of who would be the champion of an NBA Jam like league almost. If it was, all 30 teams and you had to pick two from each team, a duo from each team to go through NBA Jam with NBA Jam rules, shove, push, goaltend if you're on fire, all that. What the funny part to me is picturing this 2-on-2 world in real life.
Yeah.
And like not you can't push real rules. Two players playing full court basketball against each other. Like to me, now Dame and CJ take a big bump up in real life compared to NBA Jam, where I would just shove those little midgets on the ground and take the ball, and now we're gonna win. So I think that was where the conversation got interesting to me, where NBA Jam world, yes, to me, Bron and AD clearly would probably win in a video game setting. But in real life, Bron is not running up and down the court with these guys over and over and over.
And the other part about NBA Jam, obviously, is basically an arcade game. There's no things like endurance that you have to take into consideration, stuff like that either. Also, you turbo boosters and you can jump 40 feet in the air and then dunk on somebody. So, it's just very different. Because if you just went by best – you're right. I think guys like CJ and Dame and also like KD and Harden, because they're both elite isolation scorers, would be absolutely unstoppable in a 2-on-2 format. And there's others too, obviously. I mean, like you still can't do
this
anything.
Is kind of the best of the best duos. I mean, there's no scrubs here. So.
Kawhi and PG would be pretty amazing because they could actually guard a little bit too.
Oh, dude, you know what?
So.
I rated these earlier and I was off. I had put CP3 and Booker at 15 because I didn't think CP3 would hang in the NBA Jam world, but I'm wrong. He punched so many dudes in their groin over his life as a straight nut puncher that he should be in the top 5 of it. So, Chris Paul, I apologize, dude.
So you think I underrated his power rating? Is what you're telling me.
Put that power up. He is a proven groin puncher that needs to be –
I need to defend CP3's eye a little bit. Right?
I agree. You really don't. You really don't.
He's still a spectacular, top maybe 3 to 5 NBA point guard of all time. So you can't just talk about him not punching.
You could also make the case though for some of the shooters. I know goaltending is allowed, but I know that if you were like me, you didn't always have your big guy in position to jump up and goaltend. Right. So if you got hot, and let me just say that, you had, heating up, he's on fire. Once you caught fire, you didn't miss until someone goaltended
or you got shoved down or something. Yeah. That was like, you had like shoved that dude. But it was so hard because they were so hard to get.
So, and actually even like to think about who would win this today in NBA Jam rules or world, thinking back to the old game, like the teams that seem to have a lot of extra oomph, where when you had two bigs that you have a lot of power, but they still had enough skills that they could shoot a little bit, pass, whatever. It seems to me that your best case for that, I mean, obviously it was LeBron and AD because they're both huge, strong guys and then skilled. But then, like we'll probably talk about, like something like Zion and Brandon Ingram, Zion being incredibly strong, but like Ingram's a big dude. I mean, he's tall dude at least. I mean, he's thin, but that he has a lot of skills. He can really shoot it and everything else. Like teams like that might be sneaky good. Also, maybe like two wings that have a decent amount of strength, like Kawhi and PG or Giannis.
Yeah, I think
Middleton.
Kawhi and PG. If this was an NBA Jam game growing up, they would have got a lot of run.
Or even Tatum and Brown for the
Yeah.
Celtics, like two big wings that can handle the ball. And
that's a younger version of them almost, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah. Where did you have? So just clarifying this, Ryan did rank his top 16 here. Where did you have the Sixers, Embiid, and Simmons at?
Ben had them 3. I had them 5,
Yeah.
only because they have little shooting compared to like Giannis and Middleton. At least
Yeah.
Giannis gives you what Simmons gives you plus more.
Yeah.
And Middleton can shoot. That's
I thought they were kind of, in terms of two guys that are able to goaltend, two guys that are fairly strong, two guys, you
Right.
take in Simmons' athleticism, actually Embiid's athleticism for that. Their speed and stuff.
Oh, they've been a fun team to play.
But here's what's
yeah.
interesting, and this is just shows how the game's changed. Back in the day, you always like wanted to pair. Well, most teams, I should say, you didn't necessarily want to do this, but most teams would pair a guard that could shoot with a big that could dunk and block shots.
Yeah.
Right. That's the way a lot of teams were built. Well, now players are unusual, right? Like you'll get a guy like Jokic, who's actually a big that shoots threes and is a great passer, but isn't as much of a dunker or a shot blocker. I mean, even though he'd be a lot of, you'd still be very powerful. The most traditional type team would probably be like Donovan Mitchell and Gobert, right?
Yeah.
Because like even like Embiid, Simmons can't shoot. He's the point guard, but he's built like a center from back in the day, but he's a point guard, right? So there's just a lot of unusual things like that, I think, that make the game different. Like think of a guy like Draymond. Does he even show up on an NBA Jam as a good player or not? His best attributes passing and playing really good team defense.
Yeah.
I don't know. He can still shove you, I guess.
That's what I was gonna say. He can shove it,
Yeah.
Shove, block, and steal. That's his
Right.
rating.
And I mean, maybe that he'd be really good just for that. Like he'd be in like a weird, like new school Charles Oakley and let Steph shoot all the threes. But I don't know. It's an interesting thought process.
So we're just going to go ahead and take a real quick break here, and we're going to come back, and we're going to have a little bit more fun with the NBA Jam because I just love this. But yeah, we're going to just take a quick break. This is the Give and Go Basketball Podcast NBA Jam edition. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to the Give and Go Basketball Podcast. Mitch Shreve along with Ben Sperry and Ryan Steele. We were talking about the NBA Jam video game from the early 90s, and then we had created our own version of it coming into the 2021 season. Got it right that time. Again, you can check out the rosters and their ratings on our Facebook page. We shared it with you on YouTube here. And so now what we're going to do is we have created a tournament style. We've ranked them. And I'm just going to give a disclaimer. These are all based on our opinions. You can disagree with us, and we'd actually prefer if you disagreed with us, and then hit us up on Facebook or YouTube comments, email us, giveandgo3@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. Let us know where we got wrong or where you think we got wrong.
Sure.
And then we can start a little debate with you. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and share our tournament with you. Ben, how's that looking to you?
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Good deal. So we're just going to go through this. There's 3 of us. We're going to be the judge and juries on this. We're going to advance them. We're going to find a champion. So we have the first game. We're just going to start at the top, work our way down, gentlemen. We're going to go with the Lakers.
So Bron and AD versus
LeBron,
Malcolm Brogdon and Domantas Sabonis. I mean, this is chalk all the way here. If there was an easy pick ever, it was probably this one, right?
I mean, but low key, depending on how good the players are playing NBA Jam.
Okay. So yeah, obviously, if I'm
sure
playing
you could
my
win.
little brother, I'll beat him. But this is who's better? If we have the computer simulate it out, the Lakers to me is
I think it's pretty clear cut and dry on that.
You got 2 dudes who just shove you down, can dunk on you and shoot.
So we'll advance the Lakers. All right, the next game is the Pelicans and the Nuggets. Pelicans are the 9 seed. Nuggets are the 8 seed. Pelicans are
Zion and
represented.
Ingram versus the Nuggets of Jokic and Murray. And this is where, Ben, like you said, in real life,
Yeah.
Jokic and Murray is a crazy duo. In an NBA Jam setting, I think this is the upset so far. And I don't even technically call it an upset, but I think the Pels, Zion would be so tough. You can't
Yeah.
stop him from dunking on you,
Yeah.
block you, and just shove you down.
Yeah.
It's
And-
NBA Jam.
And I would say, I think, and I said this earlier, Jokic, his skill set might not be ideal for NBA Jam purposes.
Yeah.
Now, Jamal Murray would be pretty awesome on NBA Jam because he can shoot so well, just like in real life, and also he can dunk on you a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think this one would be an interesting one. I think somebody like Zion is almost what NBA Jam is made for because he's just
Yes.
going to be like a dunking machine that can overpower everybody.
He is he is the Bill Laimbeer of 2021.
Well, if he's a Bill Laimbeer, he'd just be able to shove everybody.
Bill Laimbeer used to.
Oh, you
beat
talking
people
about
up.
like shoving people?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I thought you were talking skill set. I was gonna say.
Oh no! Not
Zion
I mean,
like
he does have that
smoke his boots.
overpowering. He
I'm
does have
talking
that
that
overpowering.
just brute strength.
Yeah.
Throws
You know
you
what?
down.
You know what though? I'm gonna disagree just to see what Mitch says. I say Nuggets. So go ahead. What do you
Okay, I'm going Pelicans all the way.
say? Okay.
5 seed Sixers versus 12 seed Blazers.
So you got the obvious duos there. I mean, CJ and Dame versus Embiid and Simmons. Again, real life in a full court game, I don't think they could keep up with Dame and CJ. But NBA Jam, this is two midgets just getting thrown around basically. So
Though I would like to shout out the other day, Simmons did lock down Dame for a number of possessions in a row in a really impressive fashion.
he's elite.
He's an elite defender, so you might actually be surprised on that, what he might be able to do.
Sure.
If you got going from three, like got on fire with CJ and Dame,
That's the
you might
only
have
way.
something.
Yeah.
But I think the traditional algorithm, so to speak, of NBA Jam is going to favor the dunking ability and overpoweringness, if you will, of having those two great athletes that are big. So I think the Sixers probably got that one.
Well, yeah, and because you have to rely on made threes versus uncontested dunks the other
Yeah.
way. So once you miss a few threes and Embiid or Simmons gets on fire, you can't win,
Yeah.
basically. It's just,
Well, and I don't remember. Like, I remember that, if I remember correctly, I think you had to be on fire to goaltend. But
I believe so,
I don't
yes.
remember if, like, a small guy, like if you were playing with Stockton, you could block shots or goaltend very
It was
easily.
so hard. It was so
So-
hard to do.
So I don't know if the Blazers catching fire would even do.
But you
as
could
much
steal
for them.
and shove better when you were
Oh,
on
could you?
fire.
I don't even
Yeah.
remember that one.
Yeah.
You could
But-
steal and shove
But
better.
I think Embiid would be another guy that, like, the game would highly favor, and just his ability to dunk, and he can actually shoot a little bit too.
He can shoot,
so,
too.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say Sixers then.
Sixers through.
All right. Sixers through. Next game Heat and the Nets.
So we got Bam and Jimmy versus KD and Harden. I mean, initially I lean towards KD and Harden. Obviously, they're two superior players. I think the only shot, if you're the Heat, is just, again, brute strength, just shoving KD and Harden. Because
Yeah.
skill-wise, it's clearly
Oh,
they
yeah.
both shoot better. They you could say they dunk better, maybe even two. I mean, I'm a Heat homer, but I'd still probably say the Nets just because they'd be tough to beat.
Yeah, I think the Nets would be a favorite team if this was made today.
Oh yeah, that would. Be
And that
great.
doesn't even have Kyrie as an alternate.
Because there's some people that argue that they would
Yeah.
go Kyrie over Harden
Right.
on this.
Right. I think, the combination of athleticism and scoring ability for both those guys would make them really hard to beat. I think Nets are going to go pretty far.
So, Ben, you say
Yeah.
Nets, you say Nets?
I say Nets.
All right. Nets advance. I'll go Heat just to.
Hey,
for a little
let's go.
controversy. All right. Number 3, Bucks. Number 14, Raptors.
So we got Giannis and Middleton and Siakam and Van Vliet. I mean, this is barbecue chicken to me again. I mean,
I think it's
again, how you guys said Embiid and Zion are kind of made for. I think Giannis would
Giannis,
be just an
yeah.
NBA Jam monster.
Yeah.
Like once that dude got on fire, the game would be over.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I'm
his
going-
shot, he ability to block shots and dunk on everything, and handle the ball as he's bringing up the court. Though I don't remember that really being an issue on NBA Jam.
No.
Yeah,
Hey, but shout out Van Vliet. That's my guy, and he has one of the crispest.
Yeah.
Oh,
Whoever
yeah.
his barber is, shout out to you too, because his barber is awesome. That his line is.
He was
And actually, Siakam-
Wichita State, right?
Yeah.
He went to Wichita State.
Yes, sir.
Siakam might be decent on the NBA Jam too. He's the guy that's got good athleticism, can dunk a little bit.
Next game, number 11 Warriors, number 6 Mavs.
So we went with. Most people say Steph and Clay is a better duo. Yes, but in NBA Jam setting, we went Dre over Clay, just so you had a big who could push and block and dunk. So it's Dre and Steph versus the Porzingis and Luka. I'm heavy on the Mavs train for NBA Jam because Luka can do it all, and Porzingis player build would be so much taller than everybody. It'd be easy for him to block and shove. So
So
and he can shoot.
And he can shoot. So I think that is a good case in the Mavs. But I have this memory of the player that was like super tall but had like a really low power rating being Sean Bradley, and just remembering him flying all over the
yeah.
screen. And he just got pushed around all the time. Like he just flew around the screen.
Because that's
So-
the thing. If you had a low power rating,
Yeah.
it was easier to shove you and you would
Right.
lose the ball every time.
So I'm thinking low key the Warriors have a shot here, and I'm going to go with the Warriors because Steph would be the best shooter on the game still.
Yeah.
Best shooter in the game. And then I think Draymond gives you enough of that, ability to just push people over, block shots, get steals, and pass really well.
That's a
and
good
finish-
point. You
and
might have
finish
just told
enough.
me.
That the Warriors actually might low key be undervalued at the 11th seed. So I'm gonna go Warriors.
And I was thinking the same thing as you. Green's gonna play a little bit of bully ball. I'm taking the Warriors too. So Warriors advanced in an upset.
I like it.
We have 7-10 here. 7 Jazz, 10 Celtics.
So we got Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell, and Jason Tatum, and who do we have?
Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown
Yeah.
for the Celtics. I
Mm.
think the Celtics would be not even who would win this. They would be such a fun team. I feel like to play with because those teams with multiple wing players
Mhm.
who were tall, who could do everything, were kind of fun back in the day. So I don't know. This is my toughest one so far with picking a winner because Gobert is dominant and big, but dude, having two wings is so fun to play with on NBA Jam. So I'm gonna lean Celtics on this one.
Yeah, I've gone back and forth with this in my head already. But I do think Gobert's ability to block like literally everything will Dikembe the shit out
Yeah.
of this, and you're gonna be
And
annoyed.
and he would be impossible to shove because he's so big and strong.
Yeah.
right, and then Mitchell's an elite outside scorer. So I think actually the
You
Jazz.
flip flop me, I'm going Jazz.
Yeah, and
I
I,
was-
think it's going to be a game where you're going to be really annoyed at the end when Gobert's goofy head's on it, blocking
Yeah.
18 shots.
There you go. Jazz it is. Last one of the first round, we have the Suns and the Clippers. Devin Booker,
CP3.
CP3,
We got
and
obviously
PG-13 and Kawhi. I hate to say it, but I think this one is a no-brainer.
It's a waxing right now.
I'm taking the Clippers.
Unless they put a specialty button where Chris Paul can punch you below the belt, this is
Stop
over.
it.
This is over before it starts.
Listen, the Clippers, much like the Celtics, are two wings. I think or even the Nets, I think where the Clippers actually would have a kind of cool NBA Jam team is they're both really good at like a lot of things.
Yes.
Like they can both shoot, they can both play good defense, they can both block shots, get steals, and probably even be relatively powerful, especially Kawhi, and dunk. I think that's actually, one of the best balanced 2-on-2 teams.
Right, and the Celtics were kind of the great value version of this
Yeah.
Clippers
Good reference there. I like it.
team. Like they were the light version. This is the real duo where two wings is fun to
Right.
play with. They can steal, block, dunk, shoot. They're
Shoot,
fast. Yeah, that's
They
a
got a
fun
little power.
team.
So Clippers it is.
Yeah,
All right. Heading back up here, number 1 Lakers against number 9 Pelicans.
okay. This to me, when
This
I
is-
was
this is
doing
the
it
game
by
right here.
myself earlier, this was, I thought, the toughest matchup for a while for the Lakers, only because like same length dudes. Zion is just as strong as LeBron, can push and shove. It won't be pushed and shoved as easier in NBA Jam, but if it's even on the power and the shoving, I take skill and the Lakers advance.
Ben?
Yeah, I think the Lakers are going to be tough to beat on here,
Yeah.
because when you think about, and I did the ratings, of course, but they're arbitrary in that sense. But like, to me, you can't give AD and LeBron anything less than like 10s on dunking, even if you match that with like Zion's ability to do that. They just can do so much more. Like, I think LeBron just can do so much more in terms of shooting and everything else.
Yeah.
LeBron can't flop or cry on NBA
It's
Jam,
true.
so
But he can shove, so I guess we got
can
that.
shove. So
Right. And then AD, I mean, similarly, I think he can block a ton of shots on defense. So he brings a lot of both sides on here in terms of NBA Jam ability. So I think the Lakers will get it. Yeah.
Lakers. Sixers Nets.
Woo!
This is a good one. You have kind of big
Yeah.
and strong versus skill. Who takes it?
Yeah, and another time that it's going to be really, it's a bunch of big players too. I mean, Harden
Yeah.
would be the smallest, and he's like 6'5" with like a
6'5",
tank,
Yeah.
and he's a tank too. So I don't know,
He-
but
He's a brute.
so that's a lot of. I mean, in real life, that'd be interesting. I don't know. I
To
think
me, in NBA Jam, this comes down to me who gets on fire.
Yep.
Because I think it's that close. Because I think if KD or somebody got on fire, like the Sixers the Sixers will have to live by dunks in NBA Jam. I'm taking the Nets only because they could hit a few threes. So I'm going Nets.
Yeah, I think I tend to lean towards that too, though. I'm thinking that the Sixers would still have the ability to be very powerful and block a ton of shots, because both guys can block shots, and if they catch fire, I think it's going to be tough for the Nets to rain threes on them because you can goaltend. But I'm going to lean towards the Nets. I think that
because KD is as tall as Embiid.
KD's tall. I mean,
Tall.
and he can shoot the thing. I mean, in terms of the game and the way I set up the ratings, I think I gave Steph a 10 for threes, and I didn't give anybody else, but I think I gave them both 9s. Like
Hold on. What did you give KD for power?
Let's see. I think I gave him.
I think it was like a 6 or 7.
I think I gave him a 6. I actually gave Harden a relatively high power as well, but not as high as Simmons and Embiid. I gave them 8 and 10 versus 6 and 7 for KD and Harden, respectively. So
yes, 6 and 7.
This will be an interesting matchup, though. I think I'm going to go with Nets, but I think it's close.
I was going with the bully ball on this one, Sixers,
Yeah.
but you guys outvoted me, so Nets advance. Next
Finals
one.
preview.
Yeah. Warriors and Bucks. Giannis Middleton.
He kind of talked me out. I picked the Mavs last time. He talked me out of it with the Warriors, but I don't know, man. Giannis in NBA Jam, like I said, that's.
And don't forget about Middleton. Middleton's an elite shooter.
That's what I mean. Like, so you can shoot, and you have this dude who's the most unstoppable force. So.
And they're two relatively big players too. I mean, Giannis is real tall, and then Middleton's not small. He's like 6'8". Like he's a big guy. Yeah.
Giannis is very strong.
Yeah, I'm going Bucks on that one, even though Steph can shoot it and get.
I'm flipping the script, and I say, well, Steph's going to hit every shot, and you're just going to knock people down. I think low key Warriors be a lot of fun to play with too.
Reason. Just shove with Dre and give it to Steph and let him shoot all three.
That's my strategy. I'm going Warriors over Bucks too.
Oh my gosh!
We got an upset. I'm gonna take the crazy route and say that's exactly what's gonna happen. If I was playing,
you guys just gonna Warriors this thing the whole way.
If I was playing, you shove with Green, kick it to Steph. He gets on fire. He can't miss.
I would injure Steph on the first play.
All right, last.
No injuries in NBA Jam.
7 Jazz versus 2 Clippers.
Clippers kind of my borderline favorite, at least favorite team I'd like to play with if this was real. So I'm going Clippers just kind of based off of that and the fact they're so just well-rounded, I guess, both of them.
Mm-hmm. What you did not anticipate was the switching out of Donovan Mitchell for the Jingles man who's going to go at PG-13 and talk trash to him, and then there's no answer for it. Utah Jazz.
I like how fired up you got right there.
Well, that was what I fell in love with Joe Ingles, when he was just in PG's ear for a whole series, telling him how trash he was, and they're just whooping him.
I'm taking the Clippers. They advance.
Way to get fired up.
Ben, I love how you got fired up, but sorry, not enough. All right, so we have 1, 4, 11, and 2 coming in here to the
I
final.
like it. It wasn't all chalk. I like it.
Yeah. All right. Lakers Nets.
Lakers and Nets.
Who's going to the ship?
Boy. I mean, I gotta go size and power. It'd be one thing if they couldn't shoot, and you just say, "Oh, but they can."
Yeah.
So I mean, Lakers.
I'm going to go new school on this. I think, I didn't give LeBron and AD that high a 3-point rating. I gave them 6 and 4. I'm going to say that KD and Harden can get hot and then still play enough defense and knock them down enough times to stay in it, to win here. So I'm going to say that because also I'm protecting Jordan's legacy. I don't want LeBron to be in the finals.
Ben, I like your 3-point philosophy, but I think the power and the steal and the block that because you know me and my love of the defensive game, so I have to take LeBron and AD and the Lakers on this one.
He's coming for MJ.
I also low-key want to give a shout out to the pop-up ads, and also not the pop-up ad, but is the Bible really true? I think we should click on that.
All right, we're moving on here. Warriors Clippers.
I mean, I don't even dare to say anything against your guys' darling Warriors right now. He's been shouted down twice. Hold on one second. I'm looking at a few ratings to make a determination here.
All right, Ben, you got your pick already?
I mean, I have, this desire to keep riding the Warriors wave, but I think at some point the Clippers are the same argument I had for the Nets a second ago. I think their balance is pretty awesome for an NBA Jam team. And Kawhi's pretty powerful dude too. So I think the Clippers take this one.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to get rid of the Warriors in the first round, so finally to get rid of them, I'm going with the Clippers.
I was going Clippers too. I think the Warriors' run is over. Cinderella has.
Hey, just like at Davidson, it'd be a perfect, team to go a couple extra rounds.
I don't think there was any surprise here.
La La Land Finals.
Yeah, La La Land Finals 1 versus 2. I'm just gonna make my pick first here and set this up with. I think when we first started this whole thing, I can't remember which one it was, but when you guys said it's LeBron and AD are gonna run away with it, and I hate to say it, but I think they're gonna take this one too. So I'm picking the Lakers here. Last.
So I think
for the finals here,
we're correct as far as probably the two. Like if this was based in the 90s with these teams, these are probably the two duos that would be used the most, I feel like.
I don't know if they'd be used the most. They'd probably be the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
The net, you could maybe throw the Nets in there.
Yeah.
Okay. But man, I wish there was a team that had two wings like this to play with an NBA Jam when I was a kid. Because it was like Ben said, it was a guard and a big pretty much every time. I mean, look, this is so close, and it's such a dumb thing to even debate that we're doing this. But how about this? We'll go Ben first. I have my pick. I just want to see if he'll play contrarian or.
Actually, so I keep going back and forth because, I think LeBron would probably still be the best player on NBA Jam. The only thing I didn't give him a high rating on really was his 3-point shooting. But I think just his combination of being able to overpower you and dunk and still be really highly skillful would make him the best player in NBA Jam. And maybe not the most fun my man from the Pelicans, whose name just slipped my mind because I'm getting old, apparently, Zion. But I don't know. I'm going to go with the Clippers to be contrarian because I think the combination of speed and shooting and still being giant wings,
Right.
and Kawhi being in real life one of the best LeBron defenders.
Right.
And then just saying can you shoot enough threes and dunk it enough times with PG to equal what you get from AD? I don't know. I'm gonna go with the Clippers.
Yeah, it's so close, but I'm going Lakers. Just to rub in your face, so LeBron's MJ never won a fictional NBA Jam title that we just made up on the fly.
He wasn't even in it.
Right.
Well, there you have it. The Lakers take the Give and Go Basketball Podcast
NBA
Jam Tournament final.
And look, I expect a lot of hate from the fans on this one. Please, if you hated this or loved it, just comment. Say what you think, man. Say where I was dead wrong or Ben was dead wrong. I want to hear it, man. I want to hear your opinion.
Let's hear that the Warriors didn't deserve to go that far.
Oh yeah, tell them the Warriors should have been out in the first.
Hey, we're gonna go ahead and take another break here. This is the Give and Go Basketball Podcast. Lakers NBA Jam Tournament victors. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Give and Go Basketball Podcast. This is here it comes. It's my favorite part of the show. This is my favorite segment that we do just because I get to go. It's time for the lightning round. All right, I'm going to give some. I have 5 questions here, or 5 this or that's, whatever. I do have a trivia question this week. See if you guys can get it right. And I'm going to try to hide this from Steele so nothing's given away here. Guys, give your answers as quick as possible. Who did we start with last week?
Me.
Okay, so Ben, you get the answer first this week. So I tuned into this. This question is I tuned into the Nuggets game, and I just said, man, their logo is so ugly. And I don't know why that popped into my mind, but that's just dumb. So give me the best jersey or best logo. It could be NBA or college. Doesn't matter to me, but currently.
Ooh.
He said
best one.
No, I actually thought you were going to go the opposite way with it and say the ugliest, and I was going to go with the old Houston Rockets one from the mid '90s. It had a cartoon rocket. That was pretty awful.
Lightning.
Oh shit!
Got you, boy. Come on.
I don't know. Heat.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Vice City Heat jerseys to me are so good.
Okay,
so
the Vice City ones. See, I just went and say it's nowhere near as cool as the Bulls logo. You know, it's just the
logo or the jersey?
It don't matter either.
There's jersey, yeah. The
This
logo, whatever, but the jersey, yeah.
I like the jersey too because I'm a Client Valley red and black, Edinburgh red and black. I just like that red and black. But anyways, that's me. All right, you guys want Miami Vice? That's cool. I'm cool with that. All right. So you all know my love of defense. Give me your favorite defense. Any defense. If you're a coach right now, you got to put a team into a defense, and you can have any player you want to maximize any defense you want. Go, Ben.
Oh, it's me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's you.
I
think I know the answer to this one.
Man, you got to just run a classic man-to-man. Come on now.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, unless we're saying different levels of meaning like NBA or college or high school.
It's whatever you want it to be.
I mean, if it's NBA, yeah, classic man-to-man. Good ball stoppers, maybe a rim protector. College or high school, maybe I throw in some sort of press or a run and jump like North Carolina at half court run and jump. But yeah, classic man-to-man all the way. Zones for cowards.
I thought I was going to get a Ben Sperry matchup zone because I know how much you love that matchup zone. But
A lot of things are born out of necessity, not because you just love it.
Because you have no defenders.
I like Bob Huggins press Virginia. I love that. I love pressing. I know you got to have the right team
Yeah.
for it. But all right, so next one, I got to lead into this question too here. So my North Carolina man Ty Hansbrough made his color commentating debut
Whoa.
against Northeastern the other day.
What?
Yeah, he was a
Oh, he didn't tell you about this?
Ryan and I had a long discussion on it. But anyways, give me your favorite color commentator basketball, college, NBA, favorite color commentator.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, see, I'm thinking.
Bill Walton is low key like hilarious to listen to. So-
Hilarious.
and yeah, he's high on colors when he's doing it. So it's
All
good fun.
time or currently?
Anything you want it to be.
NBA, Hubie Brown.
Hmm.
Because I thought he just said so much during the game that was like the stuff that he pointed out was great.
Yeah.
In college, I'm a Jay Billis guy. I really like Jay Billis.
Yeah.
Same thing. I think he has he has his finger on the pulse of college basketball. I would say that more than most. So
Yeah, I like Bill Walton. And yeah, Jay Billis. Here you go.
if
Here
you're
you
looking
go,
for
TP.
profound statements,
Yeah.
Bill Walton's your guy.
Oh yeah.
It's
learn
almost
it.
too profound.
It's a little too
Yeah, it's a
profound.
little too profound, but TP, there you go. You got another Duke sighting there. All right, so we just did a 2-on-2 thing. So now I'm gonna take it up to 3-on-3. Regular 3-on-3. You have officiating, half court, full court, whatever you want it to be. I don't care. KD, Steph Curry, Draymond Green against LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh.
Ooh.
All in their prime. They are all in their prime during this matchup.
So it's KD, Steph, and Dre. Just
Yep.
basically the Warriors
Warriors and
versus
Heat
the Heat 3 in their prime.
in their prime.
go
Ben?
first.
So, I'm trying to be objective. It's probably the Heat, but man, I don't know. That's gonna be tough.
I'm going Heat because they're just, to me, more athletic and more explosive. But obviously, the math favors
Yeah.
the
The threes.
Warriors because
Threes.
none of those guys were great 3-point shooters. So
I think
I'm not
low key, the one that would have made this even more interesting if you put Clay as the third guy and it was truly threes
So-
versus twos.
So I do have to
Yeah.
to say this as I looked up the some of the top
big threes, basically.
yeah, big threes of all time. And when it came up with the Warriors, it said you could either have Green or Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
So I almost pulled the trigger on that, but I wanted to get kind of like a guy that would guard Chris Bosh up a little bit.
Actually,
Yeah.
you know what? I don't know. I'm going back and forth already because I think the Warriors would be a really tough matchup for some of what the Heat were about.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, objectively, I sort of lean towards the Warriors, but I'm such a homer that I'm just being honest.
I was overcorrecting because I thought I was trying to be objective. I had to go back towards the Heat because I was like, I don't know. I feel like the Warriors, but I don't know. That was tough.
just because, prime LeBron James
Yeah.
and prime Dwayne Wade, because you only saw really maybe one
Right.
season with
I
prime
know.
D Wade with LeBron.
I know.
And actually-
good.
Well, actually, I think the way you could say the Heat have an advantage is if you're talking true 3-on-3 half court, where it actually is pretty much after maybe one or two actions in isolation, having Chris Bosh being an elite third scorer might
Yeah.
outweigh what Draymond even brings defensively.
Because I'm saying,
You also don't have to
Wait.
guard Drade, really. You don't have to
you
guard
don't
him.
got to guard him, and now you put a little bit more size on Steph,
Mhm.
and it's not full court. You don't got to pick him
Yeah.
up when
Yeah.
he crosses half court. You're checking the ball up. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm going LeBron and D Wade because
I've been going back and forth. I still can't make up my mind, so I'm not even going to answer it. All right.
He's a,
I don't have to. Yeah, this is my thing. All right. So here, I thought this trivia question was real interesting. So I'm just going to ask it, and we'll see if you guys can get it. Who is the only player to record a triple-double without scoring a basket. Who is the only player to record a triple-double in NBA history without scoring a basket. So he had 0 points at the end of this game. All time, he's the only guy to ever do it.
Well, he didn't have 0 points.
He had 0 points. He did not score
okay.
a bucket.
I thought you meant it was a free. He was shooting free throws.
Nope, he did not score. He had 0 points.
Okay, got
He
you.
did not score a bucket the whole night.
So there's only three guys that come to mind as even being possible, and it might not even be one of the three. But to me, it was either late career Wilt, who was just playing around and didn't try to score anymore, and had it with like rebounds, assists, and blocks or something, or it was Dennis Rodman somehow snuck in enough steals,
right,
with some assists, or Draymond, who I could see doing it just because he doesn't try to score.
Are we counting turnovers?
No.
I mean, if you count turnovers, there'd be a whole bunch of players.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, we could
turnovers now.
Yeah.
Here, look 1 second. He did it with rebounds, assists, and steals.
Assists and steals. I don't even have a guess. I mean, I guess I'd say either Dre or Rodman is the only two I can really.
I'm impressed because it is one of those two guys.
It's Dre because Rodman didn't have assists like that.
Yeah, it's Draymond Green.
Yeah.
He had 12 rebounds, 10 assists, and 10 steals. And actually, this just happened in 2017.
I'm surprised I didn't actually remember that happening.
Yeah,
I don't remember it. That's cool.
It just happened. So I thought that was pretty crazy. That 0 points. He did.
I mean, the fact that I could only even think of 3 players that I even thought it was possible with, because it couldn't have been Akeem because he scored too much.
Yeah.
It really couldn't have been Wilt, but late career Wilt did stop trying to score.
I was thinking it had been just a random night where your boy Roy Tarpley just threw a couple passes and had some assists, and I was thinking maybe like early in his career, like Jay Kidd or something, where he wasn't scoring as much and had a bunch of steals or something.
It's actually kind of hard to go a whole game if you have the ball in your hand that much, not scoring. The fact that Draymond Green does it's kind of funny.
Who did he play that he got 10 steals against? Retire? My goodness.
Yeah.
Oops! I take that back. I apologize. I lied. It looks like he had 4 points that night.
Oh, okay.
But still,
the triple-double didn't involve points, though.
It didn't involve points. I thought when I read this article at first, he didn't have any points, but now looking
it wouldn't
back
shock me though because he's gone. He hasn't been scoring at all this season, and he's still extremely productive in terms of helping a team win. But he stopped trying to score this year.
Another crazy thing though. Another crazy thing is that he also had 5 blocks that night. So he had 4 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists, 10 steals, and 5 blocks.
Hey, Draymond Green's a special dude, man.
Yeah.
On the right team, too, though.
Yeah, but I agree. But at the same time, if you were a coach, at a lower level, you'd want a guy like that every time.
Yeah, just don't ever shoot. Please stop shooting.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and start to wrap this thing up here. Ryan, closing thoughts?
Carolina won by almost 50 tonight. I haven't checked it on the Heat score. I hope they won. I just come back to how much fun I'm having doing this with you guys, and I hope that the people watching this or subscribe to this are having fun watching it. That's really what this was all about to start with. So, we're having a great time, and I hope you like watching it, really.
Ben, closing thoughts?
I'll give a shout out to my boy Timmy that Duke did won tonight apparently. So good for them.
Yeah, I better see some positive comments on YouTube there, Tim. But so congratulations to LeBron James and Anthony Davis for winning the NBA Jam Give and Go Basketball Podcast tournament tonight. Join us next week. We'll have an all new episode all lined up for you. Make sure that you do subscribe to us on YouTube if you're liking what you're hearing. We appreciate all that. Comment, email us, thegiveandgo3 at gmail.com. Let us know what you're thinking. If you have any ideas, if you have anything you want us to talk about, let us know. Follow us on Facebook, like us on Facebook. We'll post the bracket for you. On Facebook, we'll have all the ratings that Ben came up with. Let us know what you think about those two. This has been another exciting episode of the Give and Go Basketball Podcast. Ryan Steele here with me in the Man Cave. Ben Sperry joining us from Zoomland. I am your host, Mitch Shreve. We'll see you next week. Thanks.